Welcome back to another episode of A Record of My Father. Today we're going to be talking about research. I mean, that's kind of your magnum opus, isn't it? That's kind of what you've been doing for the
Uh,
longest time.
yeah, I guess if I look at your shirt and it just says guess.
Guess about research.
Yeah, that's about what research is. It's just a guess.
That's just guessing.
It's a guess in a direction, but I mean, it's kind of interesting. Well, the funny thing is a number of different people, you brought it up and said, hey, you should do one on research. And then very recently, Librarian, I used to, in the very early days of GSI, when we did the Live Edgar platform, made a comment about it and about how it was the greatest research tool ever invented, which was kind of cool.
Live Edgar, that
And
is that what you're saying?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and it was Ann Stemler at Goodwin. So I don't know if that's bad or good, or she's been pointed out. You've been pointed out by the finger pointers. Anyway, uh, uh, it was kind of interesting. Well, she attributed to me, and I had ideas and was involved in it, but there was a whole bunch of people that did it, and it was the programmer, the developer, Keenan, that actually developed it and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, that's about online research. I mean, that's about the tool to use for online research. The actual thing of going to get what someone asked you to do or research some topic or some subject is, you can do it in a lot of different ways. If you have 10 different things that you want to research, you want to look at one thing and you want to look at it 10 different parts to that, you can chop it up and break it up. I mean, my when people tell me they're looking for something, uh I'm kind of an oxy backward moron, maybe oxycodone, whatever. That I go at something and I go
You're an oxycodone.
I go at, yeah, I'm one
So
of
you're a
those.
weaker version of the real thing. Is that what you're saying?
I go at it in a very different way because I assume, you know, that they are smart people. So they looked in all of the logical places before they come to me. So the way I learned research was there's simple research was go retrieve pretty much where something is. I need you to find the definition of cat butt,
Well, I think that's
where
what
you,
moms do across the world, right? And that's
yeah.
how, if it's lost, and mom can't find it, it's really, really gone. Because she's always asking me, she's like, "You check your pants pockets?" I'm like, "No, no, I didn't actually. You knew it. You knew that I didn't, and then I found it. And then I found
well
it, and
that
then I found
see
what I was looking for."
well see that's what and see when the mom came to me, I knew that she'd already had you look in all of the obvious places, and they already checked all the obvious places because I'd be like, look at the crawl space, and it's like, why in the world would you think it would be there? Well, his friends were playing there the other day, and it's like, oh, it's that kind of
We can
like,
rule that out too.
yeah,
Then you can rule it out and
yeah,
say,
and
"Oh,
it's like,
well, then it's not
and
there."
and, and it was the same thing with like, I can when I think about research, it's like when someone gives you a big project or a big task that has many different parts to it. I am incredibly fast at doing a little bit of each task. I can do big chunks, more work than many people because my mind is set up to do lots of things at the same time.
So you believe that
But
multitasking isn't a facade? You believe that it's an actual way to accomplish tasks? Because a lot of
well, I
people have believed that it is a facade and that it's really just fake productivity.
well, when you say, I mean, I would sit there and someone would say, I have, I would have, say, 5, 7, 10 research orders, and each one was a different company, different documents, whether it be articles and bylaws, proxy for this company, 10K package for this one, poison pill for this one, indentures for specific issues for this one, IPO documents for this one. And the way I would get them is I would go and I would go to like the fiche drawer, the paper. The paper is where you could grab the paper off the shelf, and I grabbed the stuff off the shelf for everything that was current, which say that was for item 1, item 3, item 7, and item 10. And I would take that because that's back in the olden days, and I would walk over, drop it on the copier, then I walk to the fiche, and that's the older stuff. Then I would get the stuff that would be current in the fiche product, and then that I could quickly grab. And then actually, then I would pull the documents that I had to read So it's basically organizing the way that you do tasks. Then I would pull the documents that I had to read, define where the poison pill was, define where the indentures were, define where, say, the articles and bylaws were, as opposed to just, we want this, 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 and this, but we also want you to find this, 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 and this. And I could go, and I knew the way the room was set up that the quickest way to do it was to grab this, because this took the longest to copy. This took second longest to copy, and I would just sort of make my mind work
Yeah,
to
so
do things together.
it's kind of relegating certain tasks, right? Like bringing certain tasks to lower
It's putting them in order.
importance. Yeah,
Putting them in order
So
to
list making.
maximize the
It's almost
speed at which
list
they're done.
making. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's almost
to a
list
certain degree,
making,
but
right?
also, but also you have to know where to look, and it isn't obvious. And a lot of times, public companies at that time, or the research that I have done most of my life is on public companies. I've done a fair amount on private companies where you find out when a debt indenture, what it was. You'd have to know what type of documents that it's typically filed to. But you also have to be careful, because there are companies that file things that are not typical. And it really depends upon the importance level. You know, if you're looking for a document that's filed periodically, which is every quarter or every year, that thing's always there. Okay. If it's not there, you know, that's something that you would go and get. But if someone says, I want the articles of incorporation, and if you don't know what that is, that's sort of the rules that go for starting a company and what the officers and directors can do, and the people are, you know, the rules for running the organization and what the purpose is and all that kind of silly stuff. The bylaws go with it as well. And finding those, typically you would look at every document subsequent to the 10K, and then you go back. The problem is, a lot of people think that you can look at the 34 Act documents, which would just be the Q and the K, and do it that way. And I know I'm getting really into the nest here, but a lot of people don't look in all the places where it could possibly be. And I have a story in point where we got a customer that way, because Harold Simmons was going after General Motors at the time. This is the late, like mid to late 80s. And I remember one service bureau was requested to get the articles and bylaws, and they failed. They got the older ones. They went to court, and they said they didn't have a poison pill, when in fact they did. And the articles, no, they didn't have cumulative voting, which means that one person could vote for all against all one director. And yeah, you know, there's a lot of rules that were anti-takeover provisions that General Motors had put into place, and they did it, and they didn't file it attached to a typical document. They filed it to an employee stock plan, which no one would ever file one there. It's stupid, but they did, and no one caught it, you know. And I've seen this happen a number of times. I saw this more recently with Cisco. They did this when Cisco was coming, and it's like 2 years ago. They were they kept saying they were going to make a lot of money next quarter, and then I think in the fourth quarter, what they did, and no one ever releases this. They always release this in a press release. They always do it in an earnings release. They filed an 8K with a notice in it. They didn't put a press release on it. And they said that they were going to miss their numbers, and they're going to revise them, and they're going to do this and this and this. So they publicly disclosed it. Bloomberg missed it. Bloomberg.
That's shocking.
Reuters.
That's shocking.
Reuters missed it. And then they found it 2 days later and reported on it. But the market didn't make the stock take a 20% dip, because they're like, well, but how do we know that somebody didn't already read it and it's already reflected in the price? So it's a really, really cool thing to see, because the way, when this information comes out and when it hits the stock market, it's usually the first point of dissemination, and it makes the stock move up or down, you know, depending upon what it is. And in this particular case, nobody was sure if they should sell, because Cisco was going to go down. They're like, well, you know, if no one paid attention of it 2 days ago, why would we pay attention now? And they got away with like not hitting their numbers, which by a long shot, I mean, it was not just a little bit. It was a rather a large chunk. You know, it was I'd seen this over and over and over in documents where I wouldn't say nefarious, but incredibly sharp attorneys know how to word things and put them in documents and disclose them. But to the novice, whatever the hell you are, not be able to understand what they're saying.
Yeah.
You would see the same thing. Citigroup. Everybody has heard of Enron. Citigroup was one of the key underwriters or placement agents or whatever you want to call them for the 144As that Enron did when they did the private placements. And in the first couple documents, first couple issues that they did when they placed them, they had no indemnification clause, and also they had no guaranteed payment clause. Well, they had an indemnification, but it was very weak. They changed the indemnification clause, and they also said that no matter what happens, our fees are paid in full, even if Enron goes bankrupt.
Oh, wow.
No one had ever included that in a doc. And this is 2 years before they went bankrupt. No one was saying, well, why would you knew something. Bingo. See, and you could see the rules like this, like Verizon. Remember a long time ago when Verizon had the big thing about them getting hammered for people stealing all of breaking into their servers and taking their customer
I
lists
vaguely
and all
recall that a couple
that hammered them. Well,
about 8 years ago.
if you looked and read in their annual report and the notes to financials, note number L or whatever the hell it was, they didn't file an 8K, but they actually disclosed that their servers had been breached and an indefinite number, but substantial number of the records had been taken or exposed, or they used a really weird word. And I was just like,
you got to use weird words because then people don't know what they are.
Well, but also
you hide yourself better.
Technically they could go back and say, well, we disclosed that you were that our security was breached. We didn't,
well, those terms and condition agreements are so long.
Yeah.
And unreadable with their small microscopic texts.
Well, you can get them longer. I mean, you can get them. The size of the text is almost, it's like the notes at the bottom of the indenture. If someone puts something down there real small, you better read it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, are you saying you read all the terms and conditions on the iPhone every year, every time you get an iOS update?
No. I don't read any of that crap. I just go right through it. You know what I look for?
What?
You know what I look for? Dollar signs.
Oh, yeah.
Every agreement I get that I sign, first thing I do is I look through and I look for a dollar sign or numbers with a point, because that means I need to pay something or I'm agreeing to something. If something goes wrong, that there's going to be some type of dollar thing, or I'm limiting their liability. If they kill my child, that they will only pay me $100. And I mean, there's all sorts of, maybe that's not what they're saying, but I mean, Microsoft says that. They say it openly, but that's
all the time they say that.
That's a joke, okay? But it's like it's that kind of stuff. But I mean, we talk about I don't know if there's methods. I'm sure that someone could classify the way that people look for things. There's some people that go and they look at the first thing and they go what do you call it? Time based, and they look at the most current, and then they look at the document. Or like you, when you researched a paper at college.
I'm researching a book right now.
Yeah, you're researching a book. What do you do? Do you just
Google Scholar? That's what I go to. It's Google Scholar every time. Yeah,
but I mean, but you have
those are reliable resources.
You have to know enough about the topic to do search terms that will pull up results that are real, right?
That's true.
Because that's one of the things that I see with people is they don't know. Wow, I can put words together and it brings back different results.
That's something they talked to us about very early in elementary school, actually.
Yeah.
Was when we were doing those end of the year 6th grade history projects. They said, wow, if you put an and or a but or a the in this kind of way, it changes the search around in this kind of demeanor. And therefore, avoid doing it this way, but actually do it that way. And that's a more reliable search. Also, using buzzwords was something that they taught us. Using words that would help get to your, resource faster.
Well, here's the question.
I think that was something that...
Well, there's certain things that you have to know how the engine works, too. So if someone says dog or cat and in a document and you do a search, what if it has the word dog and the word cat. How do you treat that?
Mhm.
Does you
Well,
treat
I
it
think
as,
the number one
but
thing
that's
that I
and,
learned as well is when searching, because I'm reading The Principles of Psychology by William James right now. And it's
Mhm.
like a what, like a 260-page document. And I needed things on attention that he wrote about and inattention and also conception or ideas, right? But just the whole shortcut of Control F taught,
Mhm.
has changed my life since I think about
Oh, really?
what
Just searching the document itself.
ninth grade. Oh my God.
Oh,
Control
wow.
F changed my life because then you can just go to the buzzwords and find
Right.
exactly what you need in a half a second.
Yeah.
And that has made because then you don't have to read the whole thing. You could scan it. And you don't even really need to scan it. The thing scans it for you. And it's so much quicker than
The
having
little
to read.
silly, the silly little jumpy help things that know that a lot that they don't teach you right away. And I guess it's certain. It really depends upon the level at which you're researching and how you look at documents and how you know if they're put together in a particular fashion. Like if you know that companies that have, and if you were doing a word search, if you're researching a document, you have to visualize in 3D form what that 60 page or like an indenture, what a 100-page document would look like if you want to go to, say, the uh, the indemnification clause. I mean, first you have to do something. I mean, when you think about constructing those searches with ands and ors, that's what we did a lot of at we call them algorithms, where you would put together first you would do the word exhibit, because on every page 90%, 95, in the upper left or upper right hand corner, at the start of an exhibit, they would have the word exhibit. So you would no longer be searching in any of the base documents once you said exhibit, provided it was an attachment. And, there's all sorts of other exceptions to that rule. And then you would say within 30, usually, indenture, amended indenture, the word, something like that. And then, and then you would need indemnification within 30, underwriters or whatever the case may be. And then it could actually allow you to go to the document and jump right to the section. You could be looking at 5 million documents. It would only search through indentures, and then it would pull up only the indenture, the actual indemnification section. And it's gotten 10 times more complicated than that. Okay. That's what's crazy. It's like I haven't done deep research like that in years. I used to do it all the time. Now the research I do now is when a company calls me and they want to talk to me. I'm talking to one in the not too distant future. I talked to one just recently, and it's not, I could be consulting, but it's not. But they'll call me and they'll say, "Hey, I hear you know about business, or you're in the industry, and we're at a point in time." So I will then pick up and look that company up. I will look at their website. I will look at their competition. I will look at their next door, not next door. What the hell is a green door? What's the place where
Glassdoor.
they, yeah, that. And I will see what their employees say about them, whether or not they're shits or they're good or they're bad, and
That
what their
website's
rating.
amazing. Oh
Well, then
gosh,
I'll go
I've
to
used that.
LinkedIn. I'll go to LinkedIn and I'll look to see there. And then I'll listen. Then I'll actually go and I'll look on their site and I'll say, who are they hiring? Because that tells me where they're going. Right. I will
But you can use
also,
reverse search on LinkedIn as well and see the employees of said company, which
right.
is
And
great.
you get a list of all the employees. So you know how many people are touting it, and you got 50 or 100 or whatever, you get a basic size. A lot of times they'll tell you that they're 80 or 100 people. You go to PitchBook, you look there, and you don't even need to have a subscription, but they'll tell you how many people they have. And if you know anything about a little bit about research, if you have it's usually 100,000 per employee in my space. So if you got 20 employees, you're a $2 billion company. Okay.
Hmm.
So right away, you know how much they make. You know what they have, ballpark, and it's not perfect, and some is higher and some is lower. And then and they'll get into the argument. Well, they're contractors and all this other kind of
It's a
happy horse.
logical guess, though. A
Yeah,
logical
but you
guess.
can walk in the door armed with a lot of money, and if someone says, "Hey, we're going to do this. We're in an acquisition phase," and it's like, or we're in a we want to really increase sales. Well, if I went to somebody and you said that you were really working on increasing sales in your company, and I looked at your look at who you're hiring, and I didn't see that you were hiring any salespeople, that is sort of like, I would wonder why. Oh, and then because how would you increase something if you did not add things to make it increase? Oh, they're just going to work harder, you know, or if you wanted to expand your marketplace or you wanted to go into a new market, I would expect you to have more people in product development. So I would expect you to hire people in product development. So there's lots of different ways that you can look at a company, I would say skin a cat, but I can't. I think that's bad now. That's what people used to say. A lot of different ways to skin a cat, and you're just like,
I haven't heard that in a long time.
I know, it just
It's been
popped into
too
my
long.
head, and it's
Edwin
like,
used
oh,
to say
you're
that a lot.
horrible.
I think
You're
he used to say that
horrible.
one.
Yeah, but I mean, he's a cat lover too. I'm a cat lover. I've been, we had the 2 cats for 22 years. Oh my God.
Do you think they ever did any research?
Cats?
Yeah.
Probably. I remember because Cassandra could pick a bird out of the air flying over her head.
There's some research that goes into that.
Yeah. She researched timing,
Jumping.
when you jump. And
Jump
she
height.
only jumped once and she caught it. And yeah, so she researched that she was researching the speed at which it came and when it passed over, because she would jump and it was 2 feet off the ground and she caught it in midair when it was coming down.
She probably
You're
missed
like-
a bunch of times too.
No, I was sitting right there. I watched her
But you
do it.
probably didn't see the times that she
No, I
missed.
saw the bird fly by 3 times, and on the 4th try,
Well, there you go. Yeah.
meow. What do you let the bird go? And ran in the house. And I've told you that story. Ran to the back of the house, went under the bed. I started yelling at her. She's meowing at me. When she meowed too loud, the bird got out of her mouth and flew around in the bedroom, chased into the bathroom. She's out there scratching on the door. Give me back my bird. Meow, meow, meow. And then so I flipped open the window and the bird flew out the window. It was just nuts.
It
Then she
lived.
looked at me.
I'm surprised
Oh
it
yeah,
lived.
it flew away. I mean, it may have died out where she never heard it. She never got really a chance to sit and kill it because I was chasing her the whole time under the bed, over the bed, around the bed. It was just so funny.
But she deserved it. She
Yeah.
caught it. You didn't let her.
I know.
Just have it?
But she was not happy with me, so I, gave her
She
a
must have been
treat.
frustrated. That was
Yeah.
Cassandra, you said?
Yeah, that was Cassandra.
That's when she got mad. at
Mommy's
you.
cat. Fromage was just like, oh, dude, when you're done with it, bring me the leftovers.
I remember when Cassandra died, Fromage would just sit on the ground and watch the mouses just run around.
Wow.
Just have a mouse party in front of the
Mhm.
radiators. And she
Yeah.
just watched it go back and forth. I'm like, why don't you kill it? You can't kill it?
Not my job.
I don't know. Should be
She was-
smoking a
She
cat
was
cigarette.
She was researching
Smoking a
back when you think about the different types of research and the different, I mean, to me, it's always like I have to define the parameters of what am I trying to fit? What is the question?
Mhm.
It's always the hardest thing to get people to say. It's like, I want, and it's like, well, what are you trying to accomplish? We're trying to do due diligence for an acquisition. We're trying to take a company public. We're trying to see if these people are shitty and have ever done any crimes and they're hiding this stuff. We're trying to see if the debt that they issued matches what they say they did. We're trying to pull the number, and it's like, it really, that helps you find it. And I would always ask questions, and people are like, I can't believe you ask questions. Why? And it's like, well, because it helped me find what they're looking for.
Well, I think specifics. Yeah. Always
Yeah.
being as
Well,
specific
usually,
as
though,
possible.
Usually, if you're, at least in our business, like associates and librarians, it was harder for them to ask questions because partners are gruff and it's kind of like if you work for Elon Musk and you had to ask him a question, he'd fire you. That harder ask than whatever.
You think he would?
Attitude. I think that
He seems like an acceptable question answerer. Seems-
okay.
seems like
I
he
wouldn't. I would. I'm sure there's people on his staff that are frightened to ask.
How would you
know,
know that?
I-
What is
I'm
that
just-
based on?
It's a gut feeling. I don't
Public
know.
persona.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. Public persona. I mean, he goes in and he brings a marketing person on, and he's not happy with the marketing. And I mean, they're actually on TV, and he fires her in front of everybody.
Oh, he did that? I didn't even know that.
He did that. I mean, I
That's
was
pretty
just
crazy.
like, no, that's not crazy. That's dick. That's
I
That to
mean,
me
I think
was
it's
the
a little
most
wild.
horrible. I don't know what you're trying to first off, if you're going to get rid of somebody, and this has nothing to do with research, it's like why would you do it so publicly and just try to destroy their psyche?
Well, that's what they did
That
at Enron when they would have the what is it, quarterly what was it? They would rate each other. They would say, "Is your office mate, is he meeting the standards of the company?" And they would have peer reviews, and you would get up
Mhm.
on stage in front of about 1,000 people, and then
Yeah.
they would review you. And the guy would read off all of the peer reviews, and then they would fire you or they would keep you in front of 1,000 people. And oh my gosh, there's an Enron documentary that I watched pieces of, and those like they would rent out like a whole kind of convention room and do this peer board reviewing kind of thing in front of the entire company. And, oh wow, like talk about a high
Well,
stakes environment. Talk about a high
well,
stakes
infamous
environment.
for where that came from is it was a push by GE and Jack Welch for years and years and years. The whole Six Sigma that at any given time, 1 to 5% of your workforce is not valuable and not pulling their weight, and you should cut them, and you should cut them every year. So they a lot of people worked on that idea that hey, I got 100 people, I got to fire five every year. Otherwise, the rest of the people feel like they can be lazy too. They're looking at those lazy people and they're taking cues from those lazy people and they're just being lazier and all that kind of stuff. The problem is that you spend too much time being frightened. So then you start looking if you're truly a lazy person, you figure out ways to hide it, you know.
Well, I also
And
think
if you feel
that's
like you're good,
no, continue, sorry.
I was going to say if you feel like you're going to get fired, you're going to destroy shit, you know.
Well, signing a new employee as well is like 3 times more expensive than keeping an old one, isn't it?
It doesn't I mean I understand that and in the business world what people some people will look and say, well, but if I whack you today until I get somebody in, I got like 3 months of not paying a salary. So then I get
Mm.
I get this opportunity. But then, me as the business unit guy said, but we're not going to get productivity for those 3 months. And then we're going to have another 6 months of not productivity because the person comes on, takes 6 months to train. So we lose 9 months. And
That's
the
what I
and
meant
and
by
the
that.
person that's
Yeah.
trying to save money will say, well, just have the other people work harder. And it's like, well, but they already are. That already paid for what they're doing, and now you want them to do more with less. And and you hear this all the time where people talk about doing more with less. And I'm just like, I don't really buy that argument,
It
that
gets to a point as well where animosity is not productivity. I think that
right.
that is also a
Well,
huge.
you start looking for people to kill. Because you know what? Like if I'm on a team with 8 people and the team is underperforming, what I need to do is point out Zach is being the bad guy, and I got to talk to 4 other people to say that Zach's the bad guy, even though I'm the lazy shit. Because then we get all people focus on you because we pass the story around that you're the bad person, even if you're the hardest worker. So you get a very, very, very predatory environment. And I've kind of worked at big companies, a few big companies, and I've seen some places that were predatory, and I've seen others that are, I mean, really predatory and minorly predatory, and whether it be divisional, whether it be even in the company where department wise, where they pit people against each other to fight for stuff. And it's like I've never, from my perspective, in any company that I've enjoyed working in, I hated the idea that you would pit A against B for a resource. It just didn't make any sense to me. It would be which one will make us more money. I don't want you to fight the guy next to you and then not get along with them, because I always felt that if we work together, if marketing, sales, product development, and all that
Well, I
could
think what you always
actually
want is synergy as well. I don't understand why
right,
you would do A
yeah.
versus B and you would destroy that complete synergetic environment. And I don't understand why you would make
Well,
employees hate each other.
you would never openly say that
Yeah.
you would do that, and they never did, but they did. I mean, you would see it as an employee, and you would see how we don't want to help those people because they're doing only 1/10 of 1% revenue increase, and if we help them increase, we're only going to do 1%. So we're hoping that they will be the bottom ones listed. You don't want to be that thing. So you don't. So you openly, they will not help someone else that's at the bottom because it will bring them down. There's just it's just because why would you?
That's a habitual thing everywhere. I think
Yeah.
I
Why
think
why
that,
help the guy? Why help the guy that's way behind you?
well, it's like look at the entertainment industry. Why would there are all these gatekeepers that are out there, and they say,
Right.
why would I want
Exactly.
somebody just entering when I can have somebody that's same with Scorsese? It's like you have all of
Yeah.
these directors that work with 5 to 6 actors because they know what they're like, and they know that they're
Right.
easy to work with, and then they know that they have the same vision. So why would they ever branch
Hmm.
out when it's already easy? Why would they ever challenge themselves to
They
have
know
a
what to
different
expect.
actor or
They know what
actress?
to
Yeah.
expect. They know how they work. Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah, DiCaprio's doing a Frank Sinatra biopic coming up next year.
That seems crazy to
He
me.
doesn't even look like him. I don't know, but
It
Bradley
doesn't
Cooper didn't look like what's his face? The
anybody's ever
composer.
played.
Well, the composer. Who's
Yeah.
the composer? What was his name?
Bacharach? No. I don't know, Burt Bacharach, but no, it's not him. It's
You
the
know
other
what's funny?
guy.
I was just having a conversation with Alex about Baccarat.
Hmm.
He's like, it's the best game. Yeah, you have the
I
best
don't know how to
odds playing.
play.
I have no
So,
idea how to play either. So I don't really have the
I mean,
best
we played
odds of
craps.
winning.
We played craps
He
and
was explaining it to me in the kitchen because he has an app where you do it on your phone, and he was,
yeah.
and I still don't understand it really.
Well, I don't understand
A
craps,
little
but
bit, a little
I've
bit.
won money at craps and I've lost money at craps.
Hmm.
I mean, you saw it when we went out to remember that when I was rolling and like 8 in a row?
That was
And then
crazy.
and then you look down and I have no chips and you're like, I guess everybody
All the
else.
money I gave you just was gone,
And
and then
then the next night, were you there the next night when I made the money?
a little bit. Yeah, I think I
Yeah, that's
left
when
when
I
you were
started
on
rolling
a
and
hot
it was
streak.
like, oh
Yeah,
my God, I'm making cash. And then see, that was it. I made a bunch of money and he was saying stay. And I was saying, no, I did that last night
why
and I
would
had nothing.
why would you stay if you've already
Because you're excited and it's fun and you're enjoying it and you're making a bunch of money and you think it's great and it continue forever. And in reality is what is it that Tom Hanks thing? This too will change.
that's when I lose everything.
Right, exactly.
Is
I
when
do it
I
every
say
single time. No, it's one roll past, or it's 3 or 4 because you want to make up back, get even, and then you want to walk out with something, and then you have nothing. I mean, there's like
exactly
I know the
trying to
rules.
scrape together a couple
I did
cents to
that.
make your last bet.
I don't have
Yeah,
to research that. Do
I
you have
don't
to
have to,
research that?
I don't have to research gambling any more than I already have.
Yeah, I already know
To
about.
know
I
that
know
I'm
how.
going to lose.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you
Uh,
know that no matter what game that you play, that the odds are stacked against you to win, it's like, well, unless the pendulum is swung a little bit, you're going to lose
I
if
go
you
in to
play long
lose.
enough.
I never go in to win. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Well, I
get
go in to
good
be entertained.
feelings about some things, but other than that, I really don't expect to
But
win.
that first and second night, I've never rolled at a craps table.
Oh, well, that's an experience in itself.
I mean, that was the coolest thing in the world. The first time I rolled over the top of the back. I
I
rolled to the
remember
back, and
those.
then I rolled, and it
You threw the
was like
dice halfway across the casino. It was
I
great.
damn near knocked a guy down when I hit him with the dice.
Yeah, nearly sunk one of his in his beer
And then I
mug or
started
something.
rolling it, and then it was just like it was a lot. It was great. It was a lot of
It
fun.
was. How
Just
was it hard to throw the dice?
no, you kind of learn to do it underhand
Yeah.
up against to hit it to bounce.
Yeah, because they weren't throwing it like up like this.
No, no,
They
no.
was
If you
like
do it like
this. It was
that, if you
this.
release it like this, it tends to bounce higher than
Yeah.
if you release it like that, it bounces lower and along the
Kind
ground,
of like a
and then
beer
it
die
hits the
throw.
back and comes forward.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I was
but it
watching
was
that
just
one
like,
guy throw. It was amazing. He
yeah.
was really good. The guy whose birthday it was.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, he was
yeah.
really good at throwing. He'd been working that
Wow.
table.
Yeah, he was hammered.
He was. I watched him
I
walking
think
out.
most people were pretty much in the thing, but
Well, that's what
and we could have researched that, but
well, we
since
also researched that
hmm,
it's not like Vegas. And then it was so funny. They came up and they're like, "Oh, would you like a drink?" And I'm like, "Sure." And they come back and they're like, "That'll be $7." And I'm like, "Oh, what? You didn't tell me before? You didn't tell me before that it was gonna cost money?" Because in Vegas, you just get them for free if you're
yeah,
gambling. And there they
yeah,
were like, "That'll be $7, cash or chips." I'm like, "I only have my card. I don't know what you want me to do." So I had to
yeah.
go and I had to go get chips, and it was a little ridiculous. It was a
That's
little.
funny.
It was yeah. Good
Yeah.
good ploy though. Good ploy on
Well,
that.
but also remember we went to the slots. They had penny slots, and I just think that is the
Yeah,
saddest thing in the
that's
world.
pretty wild.
penny slots.
Well, we were cashing money for chips as well, and they were like, "Do you want these in quarters or dollars?"
No, nickels.
Oh, they said nickels.
Nickels or quarters
Oh,
or
that's
dollars.
bad.
And I was just like, nickels?
Oh, ooh, nickels.
Yeah, give me $700 worth of nickels.
That would have been a lot of chips. That would have been a
Yeah.
ton. We could have been there
No.
for weeks. We could still be there right now if we
Mhm.
cashed in nickels.
Well, that's when people are, I think they're more focused on the amount of time that they spend there.
Well,
And
they're
that,
just trying to
you
kill
know.
time because you're 70 years old, and
Yeah.
that's the thing to do in the town. That's
Yeah.
that's kind of what you do.
Yeah.
That or you go out
Boyd
to the,
Gaming. They got a bunch of places there.
yeah.
You
I'd
know,
rather
through the
sit at home and play
Midwest.
Call of Duty or something though. I'd rather
Yeah, I
do
would-
that. That seems more
I'd rather
entertaining.
I'd rather paint my toenails a different color each one and just watch it dry. Okay.
That way you wouldn't lose any money.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Gosh. Well, I think we're
Yeah,
wrapping
well.
up here. We got only a couple minutes left.
Oh my God.
Yeah. We're pretty quick. As always, thank you guys for listening here on 6/21/2024. So you guys are going to hear this next week.
Research
or no,
tips.
probably 4 weeks from now because we got a bunch in the bag. So never
Yeah.
mind. As always, Spotify Q&A. I'm going to go look at that right after this to see if anybody commented. And we've been loving John's comments as always.
You're
And,
wonderful, John.
all of our listeners are fantastic. Didn't we have some news? Oh yeah, we're gonna come out with a highlight.
I think Rogan came on, didn't he?
Well, we're coming out with a
Josh
highlight
Rogan?
reel.
No, Joe didn't come on yet.
No, yeah, he's on
Yeah.
his way.
He's on his
But,
way. He's riding a motorcycle Harley.
But we're gonna be starting a
He's a
YouTube
tough
channel
guy.
here shortly. We're gonna have a highlight reel on there in a matter of. I think
we got to
next week.
superimpose Joe Rogan and a bunch of these two.
Yeah, that should just be. We'll just have a highlight reel of that.
Yeah.
That'll be
And
great.
we'll just take his and we'll call it ours. What do
That'll
you
be
think?
fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, have a
We'll
wonderful
do
Friday.
research on that.
Have a wonderful Friday, everybody. I'll talk to you later.
Party on.